Welcome back, Fungi-Philes, and welcome to the new lab. We're still very much in the process of getting set up, however, we're finally getting somewhere, and that's giving us some time to actually work on some projects. This video is going to be a mix of the old place and the new lab, so I apologize about that in advance. However, this is just a random assortment of some lab work that I'm doing, mostly regarding agar work. I need to transfer some contaminated cultures to clean them up. I have some healthy cultures that I just need to expand out. And I also have this Reishi that I've been cleaning up, as well as a local Reishi that I found, which I can show you guys a little video of that later. And we'll be isolating that to hopefully have this local Ganoderma species. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it though. Got all of our petri dishes hopefully dried. I've rotated the stack a few times. I usually just grab the top one, put it to the bottom. They're all cool now, so they're all relatively condensation free. I like these little 60 millimeters because they have 3 of those vent holes on them. Let's go ahead and get these all wrapped. It's definitely not necessary to wrap these, but could be a while before I use them. I'd rather just be safe than sorry. Just keep these plates clean, and it also keeps them together, so if they fall over or anything, that lid isn't going to go flying and then contaminate the plate. See, these actually turned out really nice and clear. There's just a little bit of condensation on the sides of the plates. Cool, you see some of these plates turned out really crystal clear. They've been sitting here for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't think that long though. I still have this bag right here. I may just use this to contain them. There we go. And I'll just go set these in the incubation box so they stay kind of isolated, hopefully stay clean. And I have this contaminated red wine cap culture from a few weeks ago that I actually want to try and clean up. So what I have here is water agar, which is non-nutritious, and of course there's a little bit of nutrition just in the agar itself, but there's no additional supplementation. So we'll use this water agar plate to hopefully let that mycelium outcompete the contaminants in there. Unwrap both of these, and we can pop open our red wine cap culture. Go the furthest away. None of this really looks too clean. And we'll get that on our water agar. Sterilize our blade again, and now we can wrap and label this water agar plate and hopefully let this mycelium outcompete. I'll get a label on that now. Now we'll just stick the new label on and get this new plate into incubation. Alright, and now this first stack is done. Get that off to the side, keep it in the flow hood though so it can continue to cool off. And we will pour the second stack. Honestly, since I have all this agar, I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 more stacks and pour those as well. One of those things is I always color coat my agar. So whenever I do potato dextrose, I do it blue. My late malt extract plates are going to be green. And water agar, I always do clear. Just a good visual indication of what the plates are. Especially when I have different kinds of plates all poured at the same time. Now with all 40 of these plates poured, we will just let them cool down in front of the flow hood. Again, but we want to let the condensation dry as much as possible before we actually wrap them up. We're trying to make sure we're working in a nice direct flow of the hood. Now we'll just go ahead and wrap all these plates. I'm going to grab these more condensated ones off the top and set them off to the side because I have some transfers I need to make soon. So we will use those and get everything else wrapped up here. And you'll see after the second plate on each stack, they are pretty much condensation free. I could have let them go a little bit longer to dry up that condensation on the sides, but it's not pooling or anything. So I'm not worried about that personally. These little 60 millimeter plates are really nice because they are those tri-vented plates. And they're autoclavable, so they're reusable. I don't just have to throw them out. Now with these plates wrapped back up, I'm just going to put them back in their sleeves. It just helps me keep them organized and let me know that they are clean plates ready for use. And now I'm going to set these off. I put them in the incubation chamber just to keep them safe. And now we've got all those plates into storage. Let's go ahead and work with some of these more current. I left these ones here just in case I need them. We'll use these unwrapped ones first. But I have just some old cultures that I want to expand. And I have some contaminated cultures that I also need to expand. So we'll start here with this Reishi. It's one of my old samples. I'm trying to keep this one alive. I've already used this plate. It's from the beginning of the year. It is contaminated, so I am just going to sterilize my blade and make a transfer of this to some water agar here. This is just my clear water agar, non-nutritional, to hopefully outcompete that contamination. I'm going to make 2 transfers of this. 1 to each of these water agar plates. Now with our blade hopefully cooled down enough anyway. Keep our cleaner plate closer to the hood. Just gonna pop this off. I'm gonna trash this plate after the fact. And get this plate out of here and re-sterilize our blade. While that is cooling down, we will seal and label this. And now that is good for incubation. Let's move on to some of these nutritional plates that I need to get transferred. Start with this blue oyster. Very aggressive. I have a bunch of this. Just this plate is old and it needs something done with it. You'll see how fluffy it is. I'm just literally going to grab. I don't even need any of the agar. I just need a little chunk of the mycelium. Get that onto the new plate. We'll get this new plate labeled and wrapped. That's good to go. We'll do this black pearl oyster now. I'm just going to prepare all these plates real quick. Oh, we have a chicken of the woods from the beginning of this year. The fluff just kind of fluffed out the side. This one's super overcolonized. You can see some of the orange on it though. Black pearl oyster though. And get a nice segment onto this new agar. Now I have that black pearl oyster done. This is ready for fruiting. I'm going to send those to grain so I can get some fruits. This pink oyster, which I think I've already taken a transfer from, but take another one. Oh, I already did that. Let's sterilize it again. I accidentally touched it. Actually, I touched it to the induction coil on the top. So I'm just going to re-sterilize that. I could have picked up some kind of nasty spores. Now it's labeled. We're going to take our cool down knife. Pink oyster culture. Bam. Re-sterilize. We're going to go ahead and do this turkey tail next to break into some of these already wrapped plates, unfortunately. It's a very old, flaky sample you can see. Turkey tail, we'll see if that, I'm sure that'll take and grow. And I've already made other transfers. I just wanted to make one more transfer so I can get rid of this plate specifically. I want to kind of phase out those old mason jar ones. And next we'll do this king oyster. I've already made a transfer off this plate, but I just wanted to make another. Now later today I can send all these plates to grain to get them all cleared up. These other plates, I already have too much chicken of the woods, so I don't really need another culture going. So we'll go ahead and clean our space up and get these off into incubation. Everything should be fine. Cool. So we have our plates over here. This is a 90 millimeter plate holder. These Reishi have not grown out enough to grab. They are still myceliating. They're all on water agar though, so I'm not incredibly surprised by that. Specifically, the one that I wanted to do here was this red wine cap. You can see this is on water agar. This is that culture we were trying to clean up, and the mycelium is spreading really well on the water agar. So we're going to go ahead and take some segments from the end of this and transfer it to some PDA. my color agar is always, or my agar is always color coded, so this blue is PDA, and get it to some more nutritional agar. We're just going to use some tweezers. Heat up real quick. I try not to scratch up my plates. I autoclave all my plates. I know I always say this, but I reuse all my plates. I use PP5 autoclavable petri dishes, and I don't like to scrape up the bottom of them. It doesn't really matter long term, but I just try to prevent it. We're just waiting on these to cool down. All right, we're just going to come open here. Grab a nice segment from the leading edge and just get that onto the plate. Alright, we got the first one on the plate. I'm going to switch over to using a blade now. I'm going to make one more transfer of this, but I'm going to do it onto another water agar. We have our water agar dish here. Re-sterilized blade. This will be probably the final transfer I take from this. Just got to be careful not to scratch up the bottom of these plates. I always autoclave and reuse mine. PP5. I don't toss them after single use. I just kind of do it in a two-step process. So I always, like if I have a contaminated dish or it's a used Petri dish, I'll clean them and hand wash them to the best of my ability. And then I will sometimes dishwash, it just depends. Like by themselves, I'll dishwash a bunch of equipment together. Once they're hand washed though, I'll go ahead and stack them whichever fashion I see fit and get them into the autoclave empty and autoclave them. Sometimes I do no port dishes. Recently I've just been running them like 2 or 3 cycles since I do have an Instant Pot. After that second or third cycle, I'm usually good to bring them out to the flow hood and get them poured, just making sure not to introduce any external contaminants. I am going to just keep this original culture just in case. Never hurts to keep it for a little bit while these other plates go out, and I do need to get all of these labeled. Beautiful. Now I need to go get these onto the other plate stack holder I have, and we'll let this continue to grow out. It's going to be hard to show you. Maybe you can see, maybe you can't. That Reishi does have white growth on it. It is expanding, but it's just on the low nutrition agar. It's going to take a while. So I'm not worried about making those transfers yet. And then we can take a peek at all of the nutritional transfers that we made once I get these back over. All right, so we can take a peek real quick at just all of the other ones I got. There's that blue oyster. These are all about 10 days old. There is the black pearl oyster, very aggressive. Here we got that chicken of the woods. We have a king oyster, probably the most aggressive one I've seen so far. We have our pink oyster. Yeah, turkey tail. This one is definitely the most aggressive. It's taking the entire plate over. And finally, dryad saddle, pheasant back mushroom. I'm super excited. This one smells like cucumber or like watermelon rinds. So I actually have, I think, 1 or 2 bags of grain colonizing with this dryad saddle, and I'm super excited to get that one going. I'm just going to get these all into incubation now, let them continue to grow out, expand as needed, and get these all out to grain here eventually. We'll also be cleaning up this wild reishi. I believe it to maybe be a Ganoderma zonatum, that Florida palm butt rot. I've talked about this before. The species that I believe that I harvested before is not Ganoderma. It looks like some kind of Trametes or weird other polypore. The issue is both species are growing off the same stump. So where I harvested this reishi conch originally, which you had seen on my shelves before, there was a new growth that happened after some rainfall sometime early this year, late last year, and I just collected that growth. It was just the little nubs, little new growth that you'll see forming off trees with a lot of these polypore species, and I assumed it to be the reishi since it came from the same stump where the older dried conchs had been. However, I don't believe it was, because that part of the stump ended up forming really small fans similar to a Trametes or some other kind of a shelf fungi, and a very small one. However, we just got a lot of rainfall last week, and there is some actual reishi that is regrowing out of it. Tell by the sheen, it looks like a nice little conch that's forming. So I took that sample, we'll go ahead and get that into the lab, make a tissue transfer, and hopefully isolate that wild culture. A simple way that we could maybe work on confirming whether this is a reishi or not, or some kind of Ganoderma, is seeing if it has any form of crossbreeding abilities with the Ganoderma that I already have in my genetic bank. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to isolating that. So let's take a peek at this wild reishi that I found. I've been watching this. I think I mentioned earlier, but you'll notice in some of my older videos I used to have a Ganoderma conch that was dried out, but it was old by the time I had found it. This was like last September. I found on that stump though, go right here, it started to grow again, and it's the nice reishi sheen, grew off that same stump. As I think I was talking about, it has two different species growing on it. It has like a Trametes or some kind of other polypore, and then this. So we need to get this isolated onto some agar. I think I'm going to go straight to some potato dextrose, but I'm going to go from the inside tissue sample. So we'll go ahead and get the flow hood on and go ahead and get this sample into the lab. We're going to give this a shot for camera angle. Hopefully I'm not going to be reaching over too bad. Just going to prepare our dishes real quick. I think for this I'm going to use a nice, I lied, I'm going to use a scalpel. Go ahead and flame or heat sterilize. I just use this little induction coil. You can actually build those for relatively cheap. I ended up getting gifted that, but I would like to build one at one point just to make another one and make that a cool little project. Just gonna let that knife cool down a little bit. First sample, I had it in the fridge for about a day. Honestly, I forgot it at work, which is where I found it. We are gonna go ahead and break this sample in half. Nice. Now we're just going to extract. Some tissue out of the very middle of this specimen. Reishi is really hardy and can last for years, so like I almost guarantee that I probably could have tried to revive that conch that I got. We're gonna get this onto here real quick. So I probably could have tried to revive that conch. However, I just waited around, and a year later, almost, so like half a year later, but that specimen did regrow. This is still pretty fresh. We'll sample that onto a second plate. Sterilize our blade. I am going to hold on to this sample. I'm going to put it back into a little baggie and get it back into the fridge. We'll go set that in the fridge for, hopefully not, we won't need it, but just in case we do, we'll have that option as a backup. With our blade cooled down, get that back up. Gotta wrap these plates. And get them labeled. Alright, we have our isolation ID made for this. I'll get that into my tracker. And hopefully this isolation works right here. I may need to get it out into water agar first. Reishi is a super slow growing Ganoderma. This is some form of Ganoderma. It was on a palm tree, so one of my first assumptions could be that it's like a Ganoderma zonatum, which is that Florida palm butt rot, specifically attacks palm trees. I did a few videos about that quite a while ago, but I believe I missed. Like I was saying, that stump had two different species growing on it, so the new growth I assumed was this Ganoderma, and it was not. But now we have this Ganoderma, they're labeled on the bottom. Let's go ahead and get them into the incubation chamber. We also just had some liquid culture and some oats that I've been doing recently. I think I got 4 jars of those oats and a jar of liquid culture that just got instant potted, sterilized. Once this pressure relief valve drops naturally, I'm going to go ahead and use this rag, give them a hot shake on the oats to distribute that moisture, and make sure they cool down evenly, and get to proper hydration. And that liquid culture we'll set off to the side, let everything cool down, and get to inoculating them tomorrow. Alright, and our pressure finally released in here. So let's go ahead and get these all shaken up. Not all of them, of course, just the grains, the oats. Some people recommend laying them on their side overnight when doing this. I just give them a shake every couple hours just to make sure you're distributing, there's no clumping, and you're distributing that moisture all around. Perfect. Water moisture is all distributed, no grains or clumping. We'll just set them over there to cool down overnight, and tomorrow they'll be ready to inoculate. Got 2 syringes here. We're going to do a pearl oyster and a pink oyster. Actually, I'm going to put this pearl oyster back. I have a mystery jar. Stir it up real quick. During the move, I made a pickle jar full of liquid culture. I was super excited about this, but I entirely forgot what I did with it and did not label it. It's a rookie mistake. So we're going to do a mystery jar right here. I have a few suspicions, but we're going to make this mystery jar into some grain and grow it out and see what we got. So let's start with that first. Let's get this big jar out of the way. Perfect. Get that back into incubation. We're just going to go ahead and get this first one inoculated. These are those jars that we made last night. And simply enough, just come in, give it a few cc's of our nice liquid culture. Now we're going to sterilize this, get this cap back on, and keep this labeled. This is that mystery culture, so I'm just going to question mark it until I figure out what we got. I'm not even going to actually throw a normal label on it. We're just going to question mark. Put that off to the side. We'll throw a little question mark on the jar too, and we'll get that off into incubation. Now we will go ahead and get our second jar pulled here. Oops, I opened the wrong end of that. So that pink oyster. Get a nice syringe full of that. We are going to go straight over into our culture jar over here. Give it a few cc's. Get that needle sterilized, capped up. I'm gonna label this one. This is the pink oyster. These are personal use, so I don't care about using my nice labels on them. Pink oyster. Alright. Set that over here. Get both of these now back into incubation. And label that pink oyster. I forgot to show that here. Just the grain jar. That does, however, do it for today's video. Thank you all very much for joining. It was kind of a hodgepodge, but we did get quite a bit done. We've got a lot of projects in the works though, and I'm still refining my lab setup in here. The nice thing is that I have this entire space dedicated to it. Eventually I do plan on doing a kind of little tour, because this is all very budget setup. You'll notice this big steel table, I actually just won that in auction for like 70 bucks. But there's a lot of other things that I'm working on getting together in here to make this a relatively cheap and simple mycology setup. So be sure to stick around for that. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining, and we'll catch you in the next one.